versus buy on just a hypothetical, but I thought this would be a great example. So before we get into the comparison, I want to give you a tour of the condo in question. Okay, let's take a look at it. This is me in the front of the sign. It's interesting because I took this video in the summer because this condominium complex has a portion, the back portion of these buildings is in a floodplain. And I was representing an investor who is selling these condos, selling one of these condos to one of his tenants. He has bought 9 of these condos. There's probably maybe 150 of them in here. This is the outside of the condo that I'm going to take you a tour of. Now this condo, each one has their own front door and back door. There's my Venza. This particular condo is not a corner unit. The corner units are more expensive. This one is in the middle. This one is in the middle of a rehab. So his tenant has moved out and he is going to redo this. So as you walk in, there is a half bath. Here in the front entrance is just a toilet and a sink. And as you walk through the hallway, you see the stairway going up to the bedrooms. This is like where the area I'm in right now is like a little dining area. And in the back portion here, this is the living area of the home. Each of these condos has their own little back patio along with a storage shed in the back there. I'm not sure if you can make that out. I don't actually step out the door. I just wanted to make a quick little video. This is one of the contractors there. I told him he was going to be on video. He said he didn't care. And then this is the kitchen. And so this contractor is in there and is going to do some painting and obviously some cleaning. There is a laundry area. I don't remember if I actually look into the... Yeah, right there at the right, there was a door that went to a stackable washer and dryer. So now we will walk up the stairs here, and up here, this is just a 2-bedroom condo, basically one bedroom on each end and a bathroom in the middle of the 2 bedrooms. Now these are pretty large bedrooms. These are hardwood floors up here. These condos were built in 1969 is what, I'm sorry, 1974. These condos were built. And yeah, this is the bathroom, and there's just basically a sink here, a toilet, and a shower bath combo unit. Kind of small bathroom, but the overall condo is not that big. About 1,200 square foot combined with upstairs and downstairs. And again, these bedrooms are basically identical, one on each end of the bath, and each one has its own window, of course. I'm just opening these blinds up so you can let some light in. The closets are decent size, walk in, and yeah, not much to see here, but the reason I wanted to use this is because it is such a similar setup to what you get when you rent. So I thought this would be a great example as far as something you could buy that's very affordable, like a first-time home buyer. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Maybe I do go to the laundry room. No. Okay. Looks like, yeah, looks like we're finishing up here, so. Okay. So yeah, that's it. What do you think of that place? Now, $99,000 is what he's going to sell this for because it's not completely renovated. You know, it doesn't have like really nice granite countertops or nothing high-end, and there's just really kind of basic. It's just vinyl plank flooring at the lower level and ceramic tile on the entrance, and then hardwood floors in the upper area. The hardwoods are nice, but everything else is kind of I don't know, it's just in the top money these sell for if they're fully renovated with all the, nice light fixtures, really done up nice. They sell for about $135. My investor has been buying these for about 5 years. When he first started buying these 5 years ago, he was buying them for about $50,000 a piece. And at that time, he was renting them for $900. Fast forward 5 years later, that rents for $1,300 per month. Now, there is an HOA here, and he includes the HOA in the rent payment. So this is something we'll have to factor in when we do the rent versus buy. So let's go ahead and get into that. Another reason why I thought this is a great example of a good example for renting versus buying is because the potential is here. If someone were to want to put in the countertop, slowly renovate this thing to make it nicer, countertops, higher end appliances, better light fixtures, better flooring in the lower level, fixing the patio up a little nicer, doing some paver or stones or something. There's just a lot you can do to this condo to enhance the appeal of it. This tile up front is really basic. There's just a lot I would do if this was going to be something I had to live in. So if we purchase this, let's first assume we're renting. The current rent on this unit is $1,300. The person that just moved out of this paid $1,300 for 2 consecutive years, and they completed their lease and moved out. HOA on this is $300 per month, and that's a lot, but the $300 a month covers the complete exterior. The HOA is responsible for the roof. They are responsible for all the exterior, the brick and the siding that's on the outside. They are responsible for the parking lot, paving and maintaining. They are responsible for all the mowing of the complex. There's a swimming pool, community swimming pool here that people can go to that's available obviously in the warmer months because we are in Indiana, so it does close probably sometime in October. It would be closed from the end of October to probably around May. So May, June, July, August, September, October, about 6 months a year you would have access to a swimming pool. 6 months it would be closed. Now, if you're going to buy this, what I am going to do in this buy example is I'm going to do not even the minimum, but it's close to the minimum. So you can do no money down loans if you are a prior military or have a family member that is in the military. You would be able to get what's called a VA. It stands for the Veterans Administration. A VA loan would allow you to finance this condo with 0 money down. But what I'm going to do is do a conventional mortgage with only 5% down, because that would be the minimum you could do on a conventional. Now you could go FHA, and that would be only 3.5% down, which would be $3,500. Not even. I'm gonna pretend it's $100,000, even though we're gonna sell it for $99,000. I'm gonna pretend the price is $100,000 just to do easier math. So if you were gonna buy this, you would need $5,000 down. Now, you would also probably need some closing costs, which would be probably $2,500 or so in addition. But my seller is willing to pay the closing costs for the buyer. So we're not going to have those here because the seller's going to offer down payment assistance by paying the closing costs. That's going to make it an easier sale for him. We are going to do a 30-year mortgage, and we are going to finance it now, and current rates are about 7%. Now, when you buy, you're going to have to pay the HOA. You're going to have to pay homeowner's insurance. But the beautiful thing about a condo is you do not have to finance, you do not have to insure the exterior of the building because the HOA is mandated by law to insure what they own. So hypothetically, in a condominium, if the building burnt to the ground, the HOA would be required to build it again, build it, roof it, put the exterior on, do the windows, do all the exterior. The condominium owner would be responsible for finishing the interior, all the drywall, all the flooring, all the plumbing, all the electrical, and then of course all the painting, all the appliances, kitchen cabinets, all of that, all the bathrooms, everything pertaining to the interior. The point being is that the insurance is about half what it is to insure a home because you're only insuring the inside, not the outside. Also, because this is a condominium and there's so many people around, the likelihood of you just have enhanced security because you have so many potential witnesses to any potential crime. Ultimately, in condominium situations, break-ins are far less common than in single-family residences, so there's a lot of factors that go into homeowners insurance, but it's really cheap for condos versus a home. And then you also have to pay property taxes, but property taxes on this, again, because the condominium is paying the bulk of it for all the exterior, you're paying just a portion of the property taxes because you really technically only own the inside of the building. Okay, so condominiums are a little bit different. I've got a graph here that I'm going to show you because I've already punched this into bankrate.com so you can see. I thought I've done the buy versus rent and I didn't really provide as much detail last time, so I want to show you this photo of the actual rent versus buy, or actually it's not a rent, this is actually the mortgage calculator. So I typed in the $99,000 purchase price. I put in $5,000 down payment. Let me get my glasses. I typed in a 30-year mortgage at 7% interest. We might be able to get like 6.8, but for just making this easy, I'm just doing a flat 7%. And then we can see principal and interest. That is just the $99,000. Just financing the $99,000 is $625. The property tax is $75 a month, and the homeowner's insurance is $65 a month, making the total payment $765. So as you can see, the total payment to buy this, including your monthly HOA, is $1,065 per month, where the rent payment is $1,300. So let's just round this up to $1,100 for easy math. And again, this is why I'm showing you buying is so much better than leasing. So $1,100, $1,300. Now, we did have to come up with the $5,000, but at $200 a month times 12 months in the first increases is about 3%. And what that means is it's just like my investor client that bought this 4 years ago or 5 years ago for $50,000. Every year it went up. Now, because he owned this during COVID when things skyrocketed in value, especially housing, he got that significant bump. I mean, he doubled his money in 5 years. That is not normal. So I don't want to set false expectations here. It is not normal to double your property value in 5 years. It happened because of COVID, and it happened all over the country. We've seen it, the massive inflation we've had. Everything went up. It's why the rich get richer, because the rich own stuff, okay? And it's interesting because this is a $50,000 condominium that is now worth $100,000. You doubled your money in 5 years. If you had $1 million home 5 years ago, guess what it's worth today? About $2 million. You doubled your money. And again, why the rich get richer? They own. The more you have, the more you get. So just by living here, just because you own this thing, and because prices appreciate about 3% per year, and again, sometimes it's 5% in central Indiana, the 12-month forecast for appreciation is 3%, and that means we are currently in January of 2025. In January of 2026, the 12-month forecast says that homes in central Indiana should be worth 3% more than they are today. So let's just, again, we're going to round this up to 100,000 to make it easy math. So this home would be worth $102,000 next January, assuming you just left it in its current condition. Now, maybe you want to start doing some things, and this is where opportunity is available. When you buy things that are a little run down, that could use a little TLC, this is where you can make a little money, but we're not going, because again, the top value of this thing is $135,000. So you stand, and that's today. But again, if you can imagine next January, if 135 is worth 3% more, that's probably going to be worth, you're going to get the 3 plus about another one. It's going to raise about $4,000 in value. So it would be about $139 next year if you could spend the money. But again, we're going to, for making this easy, we're going to assume you just live there and leave it the same. Now, you're paying a payment of $765 a month. The way mortgages work, the interest is, you pay the bulk of the interest up front. So when you pay a $765 payment, you're really not taking much off the principal, though some is coming off. Let's say off of a $765 payment, probably $65 is coming off. Now, as the balance lowers and you keep paying, you'll be paying more and more and more principal off. So let's just assume, to make this easy, let's just say you take $1,000, you pay $1,000 off the balance every year. So you paid, you now owe next January, in 1 year, you owe $93,000 on something that is worth $102,000. Okay, so that's $9,000. You have $9,000 in equity on something that you put $5,000 down on. $35 a month. That's $9,180 in payments. Now, we estimated that $1,000 of that was your equity, so you are paying about $8,000 a year in interest. Guess what you get to do with that $8,000? You get to write that off of your taxes. So let's say hypothetically you're in a 28% tax bracket. Because a tax deduction is not a tax credit. It means like if you made $50,000 this year, you get to take $8,000 off of that tax bill. So you only pay tax on $42,000 because this is a write-off. So $8,000. That's $2,240. I can't really count the $2,240 because you're still going to owe $93,000. But this $2,240 is money you save in tax. Now, I need to put a caveat in here. There is a standardized deduction in the American tax system. Sometimes the standard deduction is higher than your total of other deductions. So if you're able to what's called itemize, you can itemize this. But if you have no other deductions, likely the standard deduction is going to be better for you than itemizing. But a lot of people can itemize because they have maybe student loans and other things that they can, medical bills, whatever. You can add up all your deductions, and if they surpass the standard deduction, then you are going to save this additional $2,240. But because this may not work for everybody, I'm just going to leave this out of the equation. But there are a ton of people that would be able to save that money as well. So that's kind of the math on that particular condo. So in the end, there is no way that renting can even be remotely justified if you're really saying, what does this look like, rent versus buy? Now, I get if you're in California and you've got or London, and you can rent $1 million home for $5,000 a month, then of course renting that house is going to be cheaper than buying that house, because sometimes these rich people will buy things and actually want to lose money on them. Because here's an example. I have a client who is a doctor and he's making about $500,000 a year. Well, he's paying crazy amounts of tax, but on the side he's buying real estate, and the real estate is going up in value. So what he's willing to do is rent them for a loss. So he'll finance these homes, and hypothetically his house payment is $4,000 a month, and he'll rent the home for $3,000 a month. Not purposefully, it's just some homes don't work out to be good rentals. But he'll find something that is in an area that is great for appreciation, meaning that maybe it's growing 5 or 6% per year instead of the typical 3. And he'll buy this home and he'll lose $1,000 a month, maybe more because he has other expenses. And now he's going to lose $12,000 on this rental on paper because he charged $3,000 a month, but his payment is $4,000 a month. He had to pay taxes, he had to pay insurance, all this other stuff. So he's got a $12,000 loss that will come off of his $500,000 a month salary. So $12,000 comes off. Now he only pays tax on $488,000. And he prices. He's saving it. You see what I mean? This is what a lot of rich people will do. They will buy assets that go up in value in order to offset their tax burden from their job. There's just so many different ways to make money, and there's a lot of different ways to save on taxes because they are so burdensome when you're making that kind of money. But I think this is a really good example of the possibilities that are out there, because a lot of people say it's just impossible to find good deals, or I can't afford it. I can't afford to buy a home. And I get, saving a down payment, it ain't easy. Having good credit, it isn't easy, but it's possible. You just have to be making the right moves. You have to be diligent with your credit. The other thing you can do is do something like this. You could buy something like this, like my investor client. You could buy something like this and use it as a rental, right? So if you can see your payment with your HOA is about, I forget what it ended up being, $1,200. No, it was, we basically figured we were making $200 a month. So in this situation, you could buy this. You're building equity because every year it's going up. This thing one day will be worth $200,000. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Prices are going to keep going up. Now, incomes will keep going up as well. So this is the way the economy works. Prices go up and wages go up. Used to, if you ask your parents how much they made at their first job, it might have been like $3 an hour, and they might have paid $30,000 for their first home. Your grandparents probably paid $5,000 for a home, but they were making, $3,000 a year. Because, again, wages and prices, if they go up together, everything works. The problem we've had over the past 4 years is that prices have done this and wages have done this. So if you have one without the other, if you had wages going up without prices going up, that would be great for all of us. But what we've had was wages or inflation, prices going up, but wages staying stagnant. And so the key is that we gotta get wages up to compete with the inflation that we've had, because we want prices to keep going up. It's the only way things work. Prices have to keep going up, but wages have to follow suit, because then everything works together. It's why the stock market, you'll see, like, it was a big deal when the Dow hit 10,000, and then it hit 20,000, and then it hit 30,000, and now it's over 40,000. And there will be a day the Dow Industrial is at $100,000, and it's the way it needs to do it, because that's how our 401ks go up. That's how our IRAs go up. It's just the only way the world works. Our house prices go up. We want that to happen. If everybody can participate in the profits of appreciation, and if you buy a home, you will. It's just that simple. One time in the history of the United States, prices went down, and that was in 2008 during the housing crisis. But what they did to fix that is they really tightened up the banking system. Prior to 2008, if you could breathe, you could get a mortgage. After 2008, not anymore. You have to have good credit. You have to verify your job. Used to, they would just say, how much money do you make? Where do you work? Okay, great. And they wouldn't even check. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but it was almost that bad. It was just a free-for-all, and that's why housing caused the financial collapse in 2008. I can assure you, if we have another collapse, it will not be the fault of the housing market. Only people who are qualified and can afford a house are able to buy a house. So that's the key. it's not what a lot of you would probably want to live in. I personally, the very first home I ever bought was a triplex. It was a house that when you walked into the front door, there was a lobby. So you entered the front door, there was a lobby with a stairway going up, and in that lobby was a door, another door, and a stairway going up to another door. This one house had 3 apartments in it. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for 8 years. I first moved into that apartment as a rental, and then I got to be friends with the owners, who were very old. And when I was 21 years old, I bought that apartment building, and I stayed living in that while I rented the other 2 apartments out. And I did that for 8 years. After 8 years, my tenants, as they moved out, I didn't replace them. So as they moved out, I left their apartment empty. The next one moved out, I left it empty. And then I converted it into one home. On one of my not the next one, but probably in one of my next few videos, I'm going to show you a video of that home, because I converted that. That was a 3-bedroom, it was a 3-apartment building. It had 3 apartments in it. I converted it to a 1-bedroom house. It was the dumbest thing I ever did, but I was like 20. Let's see, I lived there 8 years with an apartment, so 21 to 29. I was almost 30 years old when I converted that thing. It had the 2 downstairs apartments were 1-bedroom apartments. Each had their own living room, each had their own bathroom, and each had their own kitchen. The upstairs was a 2-bedroom apartment with a kitchen, living room, and a bathroom. So the house had 3 bathrooms, 3 kitchens, 3 living rooms, and 4 bedrooms. And I converted that home to a 2-bedroom house with 1 living room and 2 bathrooms and 1 kitchen. So I can show you that project was it was a dumb move, because I should have left it an apartment building. But I was young, dumb, didn't know. What happened was I fell in love with that house, and that house was built originally as one home. So what happened is, while I lived there, when I rented the apartments, I was having to fix some stuff here and there. But as I learned the house, I could see, oh wow, this is where they built this wall. This is a fake wall just to build an apartment. I could see the original home, and I wanted to bring it back to its original glory. And it was a mistake, a financial mistake. I mean, I made money on the home from what I paid for it to when I sold it and bought this home. I lived in that home for 20 years. 8 years I lived in it as an apartment, and then I lived in it another 12 years as my own home. But I'll show that someday. I'll make a video of that, because I have that house tour on YouTube when I sold it. But it's man, it was a mistake. But again, that's why I like making these videos, because I've lived and learned, and I like helping people, and I like helping people not make the mistakes that I made, and try to help people understand there are so many people out there. One of them is Andrew Tate. Another one is Grant Cardone. These guys say, don't rent or don't buy a house. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Grant Cardone says it because he owns tens of thousands of apartments, so he needs renters. So it's like, really. And the other side that I'm not even talking about on buying a home is the psychological aspect of home ownership. There is something that happens when you own your own home. Psychologically, it's like you become more connected to your country. You become more connected to your community. Things matter more. You care more about your neighborhood, because because it affects your value. It affects your own livelihood. If your neighborhood runs down, it's going to make your home worth less, right? So these are the things that psychologically impact us. Also, just owning a home, you take more pride in where you live. You get to paint something the color you want it to be. You get to make changes that you don't have to ask permission. You are freer when you own, and you are building wealth when you own. So I'm trying to combat the negativity of homeownership. Yes, I'm a realtor. Yes, I have something to gain if people buy homes, but none of you are ever going to use me as your realtor. None of you. Most of you. My number one viewed city is London. I don't even live in the UK. So there's nothing in it for me to lie to you. Nothing. I tell the truth. And I've lived it. I know what it does. I have been a renter, and I have been a homeowner, and I can tell you I'm sure, like having kids and getting married, obviously there's things emotionally that are greater than owning a home. But as far as purchases you can make, there's nothing you can do better that will give you a place to live and also build wealth for your future than owning a home. Now, let me talk about a couple negatives. The furnace. If the furnace quits working, guess what? You're calling a furnace repair company. Because if you're renting, you call the landlord. If you own it, you're putting a furnace in it. Now, this is a condo, so we never have to worry about a roof or windows or anything like that. The only real expensive thing would be your furnace and air conditioner. If your dishwasher goes out, they're like $500 or $600 for a cheap one. You can get $1,000 dishwashers, but they work the same. The $1,000 one's going to be quieter and probably clean quicker. But refrigerators, all that stuff, you're responsible for that. So yes, you could have additional expenses come up, but I can tell you this. I moved in this house I'm in right now in 2014. When I moved in, my furnace and air conditioner were 10 years old. So I knew how old they were. It's now 11 years later. These things are 20-some years old. They're still working. I have a company come out and service them every year. Just clean them and check them and do like a tune-up on them. It costs like $129. But I don't even have to do that. I just do it. Now, I'm probably getting close. I know that they're getting old and it's getting close. So I'll probably have to spend, 12 grand on replacing my furnace and air conditioner soon. But again, I've built so much equity in this home over the course of 10 years. It's not going to phase my equity position. So, that was my elbow. But anyway, also I've done a lot of renovations here, and obviously I've spent that money out of my pocket, but still, between what I paid and what this home is worth, subtracting all the money I've spent on it, I'm still so far ahead. And now I don't have a payment. It's paid off. So that's the big difference. You understand, if you never buy a house, you will never be without a rent payment. So that's the other part that the Grant Cardones and the Andrew Tates don't talk about. If you never buy a house, you will never, ever not have a payment. Okay? So think about that. Do you want to be 70 years old and paying somebody rent? My mom gets a $1,600 Social Security check. If she had to rent this place, it's $1,300 a month. That would leave her $300 a month left for groceries. She couldn't do it. Groceries, gas, car insurance. That's assuming she has a car paid for and doesn't have a car payment. You see what I mean? It just can't happen. You have to get a house paid for before you get old, or you're doomed. So, I'm telling you the truth. You must buy a home. You If you're going to have any type of stable future, you have to do it. I hope this made sense to you. Please, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you in the comments. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope if you'll subscribe, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next one.